Going live. Howdy, howdy, howdy. How are y'all all doing? Welcome to episode 163 of Cliff Notes Live. Man, I missed y'all last week. Yeah, I didn't do last week. I had a little business commitment. We'll talk about that in a second. But I absolutely sat down, was looking at my watch about the time I should have been doing the show and thinking, gosh, I sure would be rather be in front of the computer talking to you guys. Didn't work out, but I sure am glad I got to do it this evening. Let me start off with big old SKD 143. Love my wife, love my kids, love reality TV and reality TV fans. Especially love you guys that are out here watching live or watching on replay. I know some of y'all are doing that as well. I haven't forgotten about you. I appreciate all of y'all that support me out there and just make it a little bit more fun, having the conversation, the chat, and everything else. So welcome aboard to yet another episode. Before going further, if you haven't already done so, y'all have heard this a few times, right? If you haven't already done so, please consider subscribing to my channel, turning on notification, and give that big old thumbs up as well is always appreciated. Before you know it, we're going to have Canadian Big Brother. Still no live feeds as far as I know, which and don't like that, but at least we'll have Canadian Big Brother. And then we're going to have Big Brother season 26. I am hoping that 26 starts off summertime. It started too late last year. I understand writers striking out. That's a summertime deal. They don't need to be wearing sweaters and everything else in the house. So I hope we started off right at the very beginning of the summer. I'm already looking forward to it. I got my month or so of hibernation, recover from the last season. Now I'm all ready to go. Excuse me. All right, let me check out here real quick. I want to see who all's out here. Brian Hosteller watching. Missed me last week. Watched Survivor Online. We're going to talk about that in a second as well because I had fun doing it. I always have fun doing that stuff. Marilyn Southern as well. Hey, Marilyn, how are you doing? Kennedy Franklin, Jake the horror movie geek. I love seeing all y'all out here. Love seeing the names that I see week in, week out. So cool. Patricia Miller as well. Karen Loveland, Amanda Lowe. Hey, guys, how are y'all? Karen Hummer, Carissa West, Michelle. I may have said your name. I'll say it again. Michelle as well. Carly Hunt. Deborah Nail, Ma, how are you doing? I hope school's treating you well right now. Terry Thomas, JP, hey JP, Mindy Carton, Karen Burke, I'll say it again. Wyatt Garrett, couldn't quite make her connections, Wyatt, but I still want to make that happen. Andy W, Mark Taylor, and Laura Lewis as well. And Marilyn, I think I got you, but I'll say it again. Marilyn Sutherland as well. Hope y'all are all doing fantastic, enjoying. Well, I guess we're still in January, right? That we're getting awful close. It's amazing how quickly this year is going already. Fantastic weather. Hey, winter's over in Texas, and I'm sure it'll come back. But we had 1 week where it was freezing cold, miserable. Last week it was flooding the entire week long, and now it's like 80 degrees. And of course, I'm still dressed up as though it's warm a little bit, but. Yeah, Texas weather. This is a strange time of the year for me. All right, so what all is going on in the world today? Let me start off right at the very front. I had mentioned to y'all, God, so much to talk about because I missed last week. So anything that's going on in y'all's world, y'all let me know as well. I don't have anything major planned tonight. I just wanted to see what was going on, give you an update on what's going on in life and all that. Weekend before last. So I didn't have a chance to comment on last week because I wasn't on doing the show. I did the Give Kids a World Village charity Survivor Vanquish. It's kind of a cool concept. It's an online version of Survivor. We started off with 20 people, which is a lot of people who play in this game. 20 people. We had 10 faves, reality TV people, myself included, and then 10 I was going to say regular fans. They're pretty hardcore fans. These guys knew what they were doing. But 10 fans, 10 faves, not necessarily going against each other, but that's the way these things tend to work out. You start off, you have different kinds of challenges. Based on those challenges, you have people win immunity. You have tribes win immunity. You have some tribes that don't win immunity, and then you're at risk. You can't do challenges like run out, swimming in the ocean, or carrying heavy crates. I wish you could because I feel like I do all right. I can't do a fire making challenge. Again, I feel like I do pretty well with it. I've tried to make fire before with sticks and strings and all that. So I'm just practicing up for Naked and Afraid. But don't have anything like that. But you have all kinds of little different kinds of challenges that you have to do. So just as an example, we started this thing off 10 faves, 10 fans in 2 separate tribes. But the first challenge was a scavenger hunt where the moderator would say, all right, first thing we need from all of y'all is Christmas wrapping paper. You have to run off screen, go get it, come back, show it on the screen. The last person or two who comes back with the wrapping paper is eliminated. So every round you get a few less to go. I was okay on that. I was okay on, what do we have? Water bottles. I was okay on jar of pickles. Of course, I'm going to have a jar of pickles, right? I was okay on a container of eggs. Even though I was in such a hurry, I grabbed the container and they just exploded all over my hands. You know what got me out of that challenge? Oatmeal. I got oatmeal all over the house, but it was a pantry. I couldn't get to it, and I got knocked out. So it is what it is. I didn't even mention this before, but we had a few Big Brother players on there. We had all different reality genres represented, but we had 3 other Big Brother players and myself. We had Portia Briggs, we had Felicia Cannon, we had Cameron from last season as well. And as a surprise, on the 3rd night, we had a Pandora's box that was opened up, and we had another Big Brother player, Izzy. Yeah, Izzy came in. She didn't play the first half of the game, but she played the second half. Unfortunately for old Boss Hog, I did not play the second half of the game. It was a little rough for me. First run through, first tribal council, I was fine. They voted out Alex Maynard from Amazing Race and Naked and Afraid. Second round, they voted out, what was his name? Travis, I think, from Squid Game Challenge, the son of the mother and son team. So y'all know who I'm talking about, right? They voted him out. Third round, it was a little iffy because here's how it worked. The first round, I shouldn't be talking too much, so I'm going to move on pretty quick. But first round, 10 fans, 10 faves. All the fans voted against the same person, which happened to be Alex. We, as the celebrity folks, 9 of us voted to send out one person. One person voted to send someone else out. We didn't know the people's names at the time. As a result, the fans got the numbers on us. We eventually got to a tribe of 5, 3 fans. Myself and a lady who was on the first season of The Amazing Race were the only 2 celebrity folks on there. I hated to do it to her, but I threw her under the bus and said, I'm much stronger and can help y'all out much more if you keep me and send her out the door. It worked. They sent her home, but I hated to do that. But it's part of the game. They had a random breakdown of the tribes, a random draw. I got put in a tribe, only 4 people per tribe. I was in a tribe. I was the only reality TV person and 3 fans. Like, yeah, I know how this is going to go. So as it turns out, yes, I was voted. I think I came in like 13th or 14th place. Did not even make the jury. That was hard. The challenges were fun, though. I mentioned the scavenger hunt. Another one I did that was fun. We got 10 red Solo cups and a balloon. And this is all on camera, so you're being watched by moderators, by judges. You have to bounce a balloon in your hand. It can't hit the ground. Bounce it in your hand at the same time you take those 10 Solo cups and you stack them up in the shape of a pyramid. So bounce a balloon, try to do the cups real quick, then bounce it again before it comes down and keep doing it. Incredibly hard, incredibly difficult. I was not, it was not rolling balls down a ramp. We'll just put it that way. It's a difficult challenge and I did not win immunity on it. So I went home. So there you go. So those of you, I know some of y'all posted that y'all were out there watching it. So thank you. I appreciate the support. I told them when I got done, I said, look, I wish I'd stayed longer, but it was all for charity. So I'm fine with it. You know what I hated more about anything else about it was the fact that because I got booted when I did, I didn't have a lot of time to interact with everyone else that played the game. That's my favorite part about hanging out with all these different, fangirl. I getting a chance to hang out with all these other folks that play reality TV would have been fun. Night was cut a little bit short, so it is what it is. So there you go. So that was my experience on the challenge. Now I have been potentially invited back. I've been told that they do the same thing for an online version of Big Brother. Maybe that's more my strength. So I may look into it again. But it was a lot of fun. All right, let's see if I got any questions out here real quick. So I got that. Brian's saying, Was watching a TikTok video, and a girl kept saying 143 to people, and they were confused, but I knew what it was because of you. See, there you go, Brian. Yeah, I didn't. It's so funny when I said that inside the Big Brother house. I had mentioned it before I ever went in, just to my family, because we were watching the Mr. Rogers documentary where he talked about it. But I hadn't really thought it through until I got in there. The first tribal council, I forgot to give any kind of shout out to my family or anything, and I felt so bad. It's like, oh man, they're gonna think I wasn't even thinking of them. A lot of fans don't like to have shout outs. So at the time, there were a lot of people saying, oh yeah, he's a true fan. He didn't do a shout out. So I compromised. So I did that SKD 143, and I'm so glad I did now. Well, I'm glad I could help you out, that you knew what 143 was. It used to be real popular when people had pagers, beepers. God, how long ago is that? Oh, that's amazing. I was listening to a little thing on was Instagram. All the songs that premiered 50 years ago. So in 1974, what songs premiered? There were Queen songs and Little River Band songs, Sweet Home Alabama, a lot of songs that are pretty famous. It's hard to believe that was 50 years ago. All right. Oh, Brian Husser saying, what were the breakout sessions like? I didn't realize that y'all couldn't watch those until I was out of the game, and then realized that they weren't showing the breakout sessions. They were so quick that I didn't really have much time. The first breakout session we did, I was so busy saying, oh, I loved watching you on so-and-so, and oh, I loved watching you on so-and-so. And also it's like, all right, it's time to come back in the thing. And like, oh my gosh. The worst breakout session was when it was myself and the three fans, because it's like, what are you going to do? What are you possibly going to do? So I grabbed one of the two ladies that were, it was a guy and two ladies were the fans. I grabbed one of the ladies that was in there. I said, look, here's the deal. Obviously, it's easy to send me home. And if you want to, no hard feelings, but it's not going to be fans versus favorites forever. Eventually, y'all are going to have all the numbers. It's going to break down. It would pay off probably to have y'all with a little bit of help from a celebrity, from a fave kind of thing. And y'all know, if y'all watch me play, I'm loyal. I'm probably too loyal, but I got your back if you'll save me. And I told her, said, if you just wanted to get rid of someone, I could guarantee I wouldn't vote for you. I've got to vote for someone. So if you'll tell me who to vote for, I will do that. And if you and the other person wanted to make something happen and make a big resume move right here and there, then I'd do it. And she looked at me. She kind of acted like maybe she was interested. She told me who she wanted me to vote for. And I said, okay. Man, they all voted me out anyway. So I tried, but it was one of those things. My mom's out there. Hey, Mom. Saying the Balloon Cup Challenge would be fun next time our families get together for a holiday. Yeah, it would be. There were a lot of fun challenges that would be fun to do. They had that one. They had one involving putting ping pong balls on the table, and then with your hand or with your elbows, you have to pick up the ping pong balls and drop them into a bowl. They had some fun stuff to replicate what happens online. So yeah, I'm ready to do it again someday. It was cool. But again, it's all for charity, so that was neat. All right, Wyatt is saying, going to Billy Bob's Saturday night. Karen Loveland, and are you at the rodeo? Oh, I kind of am. I'm in front of a shot of the rodeo. Yeah, I wanted to talk about that. I mentioned Wyatt Garrett, Wyatt, the expert in the Fort Worth stockyards and country music and all of that. For those of you who don't know, as I mentioned, I wasn't here last week, and it's because I was up in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, had a big sales conference, I had clients that came in from Germany, and so I was actually busy every night doing shindigs and things like that, including Monday night. But yeah, we were all up in the stockyards. And for those of you who don't know, you've got Dallas and you've got Fort Worth. Dallas is kind of the financial, the business city and all of that. Fort Worth, they say it's where the West began. It's kind of the cowboy heritage part of Dallas-Fort Worth area. And so they've got Billy Bob's, the rodeo arena. The rodeo is going on in Fort Worth right now. I loved going to the rodeo when I was a kid. I was going to tell y'all a story or two about that. I still love going, but I grew up going to the Fort Worth rodeo specifically. And so yeah, there's your that's not me on the bull. I know better than that. Yeah, I never thought I'd want to be a bull rider. A steer wrestler, something like that, that'd be fun, but not necessarily a bull rider. Yeah, not my. I like all my bones positioned just the way they are. But I really did. I would have loved to have done the steer wrestling where you ride on the horse and you jump off onto the steer, you grab it by the horns, you flip it over and all that. That would be fun. That steer would be looking at me now saying, yeah, I just give up. I don't want this guy falling on top of me. But no, I grew up going to the rodeo. I had a blast this week because we were there in the stockyards. I wore my cowboy hat the whole time because we had people from coming in from everywhere. So I felt like it was important that I represented. So I had the cowboy hat on, and I just had a blast talking to other folks that were all there for the rodeo and that kind of lifestyle and all that. So yeah, I just wanted to kind of honor a little bit. This is the start of rodeo season. You've got the rodeo in Fort Worth. You've got a rodeo in San Antonio. Houston's going to have our big rodeo right at the very end of February, the first couple of weeks of March. I'm looking forward to that as well. So yeah, I just wanted to throw a little rodeo stuff in there. But yeah, Wyatt and I were going to try to match up and maybe hang out and say hey. And I wanted him to show me where the music was. Unfortunately, I wasn't there over the weekend. So have fun at Billy Bob's, Wyatt. I'm sure you will, and I'll be looking for the pictures as well. But I mentioned to y'all, and it's funny, my mom's out here, so she can verify a little bit of it as well. I don't know if I've ever told y'all, growing up for an extended period of my time, my parents owned a fabric store. So they sold fabrics, they sold sewing machines, they repaired sewing machines, which is how I learned to sew as a kid. I can still sew buttonholes and things like that. Trying to think, I don't know if I really needed it in the Big Brother house so much, but yeah, I actually do know how to sew. But they owned a fabric store, and as part of that, they had a booth in the exhibit hall. When you have a rodeo, for those of you who aren't familiar, you have a rodeo, which is the arena with the cows and all that, but it's a little bit like the state fair. You also have a car place that shows off the newest cars. You have the exhibit hall, which has all kinds of people selling different goods and things like that. Well, my parents had a booth set up for their fabric store. And the whole time they're there, my mom would be monogramming stuff, clothing, denim shirts for my brother and I, things like that, showing what you could do with these sewing machines. And my brother Robert and I lived at the rodeo, at the stock show, is what they called it. We lived there because after school we would immediately, when my grandparents would drive us over there. On the weekends we were there the entire time, and we hung out at this place every day, this exhibit hall, and had more fun in there. Right next to our booth, the fabric booth, was a glass blowing booth. You know, the ones where they have that bright flame and they make all the fancy eagles and dragons out of glass and everything. We watched that for hours. On the other side of us was some religious group that felt like the end days were coming, and they had all these scary looking paintings that my brother and I look at and say, wow, we got all those angels floating around everywhere. That's interesting, watching the people that were talking there as well. WBAP 820, which was the main radio station in Fort Worth, had a booth set up. Robert and I would go to that radio booth, and we would sit there for 3 or 4 hours at a time, just because they finally got irritated. The kids sitting in the front, and they'd ask us what our names were, and so we would do it just to get our names announced. So, you know, even back then, I had the little bug trying to get on TV and radio and things like that. Every once in a while, they'd have a little contest. I remember one time I did a contest where whoever could come the closest to get to 60 seconds won a record album or something. So I remember up there trying to count in my head, and the hosts are trying to confuse us and all that. I don't think I won, but I came pretty close. So we had so much fun at the rodeo. The other thing that we would do is my brother and I would go on the midway. And we always had a little money for a ride or two, but not a whole lot. You know, every day it gets a little expensive to do a lot of that. So a lot of times we would just go out in the midway and just people watch, or we'd go to the midway games and we'd watch all those carnival games, and we'd try to figure out sometimes how to beat them, but mainly it was more of figuring out why it was a crooked game and you could never beat them at all. And then we thought we were the little smart alecks because we'd tell people, come say, "Oh, don't play that game. You'll never win. It bounces out of the basket every single time." And we analyzed every single one of those games. Maybe that's what helped me out so much when I did that battle back on Big Brother. Maybe watching people rolling balls down those ramps for so many days, so many years while I was going to the Fort Worth Stock Show. Maybe that's what led me to understand that you go faster, not slower, and some of the stuff that takes place at the rodeo. So we had a lot of fun doing that. We saw a lot of concerts while we were at the rodeo. Went to the rodeo and then concerts afterwards. Tanya Tucker, Delta Dawn. Yeah, we saw Tanya Tucker in concert and just had a lot of fun. So there you are. I'm reminiscing about my childhood a little bit, I guess. Now in Houston, you get the real concerts. Not that the other ones weren't, but in Houston you get the big concerts, and they're not all country western. I've seen plenty of country. Hank Williams Jr., the Highwaymen, a lot of big Blake Shelton we saw last year. A lot of big country. George Strait we've seen a couple of times. So we've seen big country western music acts at the rodeo, but we've also seen music acts that you wouldn't really think would be at the rodeo that were a lot of fun. We saw Taylor Swift there. Yeah, I'm a Swiftie from way back. We saw Barry Manilow in concert. That was interesting. He did a great job, but that was a little bit interesting. We saw the Black Eyed Peas there. Maybe one of the best concerts I've ever seen. They put on quite the show. I wasn't used to that kind of music. It's not like I wasn't used to that kind of music at the rodeo. So that was kind of cool. So yeah, I'm just looking forward to another rodeo season this year. All right, let's see as I'm looking at these real quick. Ma is saying, your birthday is on Monday this year. Can I be a returning guest on my birthday? Well, Ma, I think that sounds like a pretty good idea. Remind me of it because, as the years go on and all that, I think we could accommodate that. So yeah, we'll talk, but make sure you're good to go. Yeah, I think it's time to celebrate Ma's birthday. I think that sounds like a fantastic idea. And let's see what else we got here. Cindy saying she's late. Cindy, I'm glad to have you on board. I know you'd be out here eventually. I'm not forgetting you, but I'm glad to see you out here as well. All right. Yeah, Ma, I'm glad you told me that. Yeah, we're going to be celebrating Ma's birthday next Monday. Mentioning that the French class is stressful. Parlez-vous français? That's it. That's really it as far as my French. I do not speak any French. So omelette du fromage. Was that something Steve Martin used to have? Omelette du tennis shoe? I don't know. That seems like a hard language. So Ma, my thoughts go out to you. I speak a little Spanish, conversational. I can survive Spanish. A very little bit of Portuguese as well. French seems hard. It seems pretty hard. But so good luck on that one. Vicky is saying, do you have any New Year's resolutions? Yeah, to make it another year. I don't know, but I know myself well enough to not be too serious about my New Year's resolutions. I mentioned to y'all earlier, I think I did, not necessarily a resolution, but I'm going to try to read a little bit more this year because I feel like in this digital age, you've always got your cell phone in front of you. I feel like you miss out a little bit. So I'm reading a couple of science fiction books right now, and I'm reading book Master and Commander by Patrick O'Brien, all about the English sailing ships and life as a sailor in the 1700s. Let me just say this: pretty miserable. Lot of people eating rotten food and throwing up and getting tied onto wheels and whipped with seawater soaked whips and all that. Yeah, the life of a British sailor is not quite the fun time, the Royal Caribbean cruise that they cracked it up to be. Still very interesting. Very technical to read that, though, because they use a lot of naval terms that I don't necessarily understand. But yeah, so that's my New Year's resolution is try to read a little bit, try to, more than that, just take some time off from social media, spend that much more time with family, with books, just sitting outside, listening to the birds chirp and things like that. All right, JP is saying, have you been to Dealey Plaza? Oh, yeah, JP. Another place I spent a lot of time. For those of you who don't know, Dealey Plaza is the plaza where John F. Kennedy was assassinated in, what was it, 62, right? Yeah, I think 62. November 22nd, 63, right. Yeah, I knew that at one point. Yes, so Dealey Plaza is right outside where he was assassinated. Even today, as many times as I've been over there, every time I drive down that street, I still think about it. Every time I drive by the school book depository where Lee Harvey Oswald allegedly I think he did it, but allegedly fired the fail shot. I still look up and look at that corner. It's amazing. I remember that. I don't remember it. I wasn't quite here yet, but I've certainly grown up knowing all about that. There's an incredible museum there for it. It's tough for Dallas. If you ever come to Dallas as a visitor, you need to go. You need to check it out. But it's tough for Dallas to have their main reputation of being, oh, this is where Kennedy was shot. Yeah, that's pretty tough. But yeah, you need to check it out while you're here. I remember that growing up with it in terms of actually remembering things when Reagan was shot by, was it Hinckley, I think, up in D.C. or whatever. I remember that. They came on the school intercom and said, just so you know, President Reagan's been shot and we don't know what's going on yet. And I immediately was saying, cancel school. I want to go home. I want to find out what's going on. No, we're not doing that. Just stay here in school. There was nothing they taught in those last 2 hours of school that day that was anywhere as important as what was going on in the national news and at home. And I stand by the fact, being that kind of event, they should have sent the whole school home and let us watch it. But they didn't consult the, how was it then, 16, I think? They didn't consult the sophomore in high school at that time. But I went home and was glued to it. And I've always been interested in that kind of stuff. So, yeah, I remember. Yeah, check out Dealey Plaza if you haven't already been so. And again, I think he did it. Talk to Kat Dunn. She's got about 101 different conspiracy strategies, half of which involve John F. Kennedy, half of them involved aliens, and about a third of them involve both of those combined together in some form or manner. I'll never forget when I was inside the Big Brother house. We're all sitting out around the pool, and Kat mentioned something, says, I believe in aliens, which fine. I think it's entirely feasible. There's other intelligent life out there. So no big deal about that. But she just kept ramping the story up a little bit more in terms of who they were and who they were visiting. And Kat, it was so much fun having Kat inside the Big Brother house. Everything just got a little bit more serious after she left. I mean, we played a lot of game afterwards. She went home, right after jury started and all that. So we had a lot of game to play. It just wasn't as much fun afterwards. It was too serious from that point on. So much fun having her in the house. So there you go. John Hinckley has a music channel now. He's not half bad. Ma is saying. All right, I got a few jokes that probably would be inappropriate about music and all that, and John Hinckley and all that. So I'll just leave it be. I'm not going to go out of my way to find that channel, but I'm glad he's made something of himself, I guess. Brian's saying, used to be an X on the road at the spot. Yeah, no, I remember that. Took a pic laying on the road in that spot. All right. I don't know that I would be laying on the road in that spot. One, because the Dallas drivers may just run you over, not out of spite, but just because they just think you're another possum. And we got more enough of those to go around in this place. But no, I remember the X marks the spot, so to speak, and all that, but never thought to actually lay on the road. I remember looking up at that grassy knoll a lot of times saying, what would it have been like to be up there? Can you imagine just some random person? Oh, let's just go see the president. And the next thing you know, something like that's happened. All right, I got a funny story for y'all. Funny story for y'all. I was working one summer during college. I was working as an intern for an oil and gas company in Dallas. And so, just like bookkeeping kind of stuff at the time. But President Reagan came into town to talk at the World Marketplace or something, some building that was there. He was just coming to speak to a bunch of people as a luncheon. It's like, oh, that's kind of cool. I'm going to go see President Reagan. That would be neat to say that I saw a president and all of that. So I, at lunch, drove over, and there were all kinds of security at the front of the building. I couldn't even get close to it. So I was like, all right, well, I'm not going to do that. So I parked at the very back of the building in an old beat up Chevrolet Caprice Classic, the first car I ever owned. I paid for it myself. Nothing really fancy about it. Just a big old clunky car. So I parked that at the very back. Well, then I go to the front of the building, and I'm just waiting because I don't have a ticket to get inside. So I thought, well, I'm just going to stand out here until President Reagan comes out, and I'll say, hey, Ronald, how are you? I'm wearing a suit because I'm working for this oil and gas company, and I thought it'd be cool to put on sunglasses. So I'm sure that all the Secret Service there are saying, hey, we got some goofball that's trying to dress like the Secret Service that's just walking back and forth across the entrance. And I waited and finally I was like, well, I got lunch. Our lunch is over. I can't be late to work. I've got to go back. So yeah, I tried, but oh well. So I walk back to the back. Just as I'm getting ready to get in the car, I see all this commotion at the back of the building. And there's President Reagan getting in the big old presidential limousine or whatever to leave. Probably because of me wandering around the front. They probably said, yeah, don't expose him to that goofball at the front. Send him out the back door. They didn't realize that I just happened to time it just right. So just as President Reagan's getting in his motorcade, I'm at my car. They take off, and I'm the only person back there. And here's Ronald Reagan look around, and I wave at him, and he said hi, waved at me, and we made eye contact and all that. And I'm sure all the Secret Service said, oh, he's back here. Oh my gosh. But it was fine. So I got to see the president. That's about the only president I think I've ever seen. Oh, well, I take that back. I've seen George Bush multiple times before and after they were presidents, both of them. But in terms of actually during their term with all the people around and all that, I got to see him. That was pretty cool. Now, I saw President Reagan while I was over in Scotland one time on a Sunday. I was actually happened to be driving by where the Queen and the Queen Mother at the time go to church. And so I stopped and got to watch. And sure enough, here comes the Rolls Royce. And they're both in the back seat doing their little Queen wave. And that time there were a whole lot of people. I'm not sure they were necessarily waving at me, but I'll pretend like they were. I should have just done I don't know. I guess you don't curtsy as a guy, right? You do some kind of bow. I should have done some fancy bow. I'm sure that would have gotten their attention, got someone's attention. But yes, I've seen the Queen Mother, and the president. So look at me. It was cool. Knowing that you're dealing with, that you're seeing people who have such an impact on the world, you got to be impressed, right? I don't care political parties or anything else. To see someone with that kind of power amazes me every single time. That you could have that much power invested in a single person. It's incredible. All right, so let's see what else we got. Patricia Miller saying, reading Stephen King's Misery and The Stand. All right. I don't know if I've read Misery. I've certainly watched the movie, and oh my gosh, it's a cringy movie in a good way. In like, oh, I don't even see that again, because it just gives you the heebie-jeebies. But a great movie. James Caan, amazing in that, and Kathy Bates. Oh, I like. Not a lot of Stephen King books turned into good movies. Misery, pretty good. The Stand. Oh, enjoy the journey, my friend. I have read that book 3 or 4 times. I read it the very first time it came out when it was like 600 pages, and it was such a thick book. It took forever to read. It was so good. And then they drew me back in because a couple of years later, they released the unabridged version or the extended original version, which was like 40,000 pages or something. Not that, it's like 1,200 pages. I mean, a thick book. 1,200 or something page, 1,000 pages. I read that one again, even better. And now I've gone back since then and read both of them a couple of times. I've watched the miniseries, not as good, either one of them. But I love the book. The Stand and The Shining are probably my favorite 2 Stephen King books of all time. Probably both of them would be ranked in my top 5 books of any sort of all kind. In fact, what would I do? The Stand, The Shining, 1984, Brave New World. How do you finish it off? Maybe there's got to be a Tom Clancy in there. Hunt for Red October or Crimson Tide. There's a few. Maybe I shouldn't be doing the top 5. But yeah, I'd love to be reading The Stand for the first time again because it was so cool. I just love those kind of books. All right. You get me talking about that one forever. All right. Vicky Stone is saying, read that you played the cello in the Texas A&M Orchestra. If true, why not play for us some Monday? Vicky, I don't know what kind of TMZ article websites you've been going to that would say that I played the cello. I'll put it this way. My limit in terms of musical ability involves a piece of wax paper and a comb going and humming. That a kazoo. That's about where I end with it. I don't know. I can bang on a pot and pan pretty well as well. I'd be old Cooksy in the old days of ringing the triangle. Come and eat, come and eat. No, I did not play the cello. They wouldn't let me within 100 feet of that kind of instrument. I actually did play the piano as a kid. It, just like so many of us, we had to take piano lessons, and I did perform at a few recitals here and there. If you put me in front of a piano, I know about 7 or 8 notes to the 3 or 4 different songs that I can play for about 2 seconds, 3 seconds, just to impress someone and say, yeah, I don't have time. I can't play the rest of the song now. I'm busy doing this. No, I'm not musical at all. So you will not be hearing any musical instruments being played at this point. I talked at one point when I first started doing the show about wanting to learn how to play the ukulele. And I still think that or the banjo would be fun. But as it turns out, the ukulele I had was not great quality, impossible to keep in tune. And so I'm also not the kind that's going to go down and spend a couple $100 on a ukulele, because I feel like your opportunities to play an instrument like that are incredibly limited. Unless you live in Hawaii or you're planning to visit there, it's not like I can necessarily go down to my local bar and say, hey guys, y'all up for a little karaoke and ukulele music tonight? Yeah, it'd be the least favorite man in the whole wide city if I start doing that stuff. So yeah, no, I don't play the cello. There may be someone else named Cliff Hogg that's a fantastic cello player, and I apologize if that's the case. I don't want to disparage your name, but it ain't me. Yeah. My mom played the guitar. My mom is a musician. No one else in the family is. Just her. The rest of us from dad's side, yeah, we didn't get any musical talent. I don't think we even got that much. If you saw the flash mob, I didn't really get any musical talent. I also don't think I really got any musical rhythm either. That's just me. It's just who I am. I'm going to own it. All right. Ray Munoz saying, my dad was on a security team in DC. That's pretty cool, but that's also pretty stressful. And Michelle Moore saying, I've seen George Bush and Bill Clinton and Air Force One. That's cool. I'm trying to think. Oh, I did see Trump once. His motorcade passed me while I was driving on the roads of Houston. Not like I really saw him as much as just the car going by really fast, but it was still kind of cool. That's cool. As far as working on the security detail, I've watched all those. Washington Has Fallen. Is that the one with, I can't think of, Channing Tatum? I actually have watched that a lot of times. It's pretty good for just a little cheesy deal, but there's a lot of movies involving those Secret Service details that are protecting the president and all of that. And it never seems to work out so well for those details. There's always someone trying to kidnap that president and someone who's having to do incredible, heroic things to try to save the president. I read a story, and I don't want to get too grim here, but I read a story about the Secret Service agent who was the first one that got to Kennedy and Jacqueline Kennedy when he was shot. And he jumped on the back of the car and kind of was hugging, pushing, I think, the first lady down and protecting him. And his story about how his whole life changed in that 1 second, and how he was always known as the guy who, unfortunately, a lot of people, the guy who didn't save the president, which is an unfair labeling, really. But yeah, a pretty interesting story. That has to be hard. You have to be right every single time. If the bad guy, if you're wrong one time, the bad guy only has to be right once, and he achieves his goal. You have to be right every single time, or you lose. It's tough. You have to be so hyper observant. I don't know how those guys do. And Ray Munoz, I'd be curious to see if you have a comment on this. When you do something like that all day long, you're protecting the president, vice president, whoever it is. When you have to be that observant about everything, I wonder what it's like when you're not working, when you're just at the store, when you're with the family. Your head's probably on a swivel, right? You're probably looking everywhere. You're identifying every potential little possible scary something going on. I've got a brother who is a police officer, and he does that. We can't go anywhere we go. He is the one that's always the first to be aware of where exit points are, of people who are looking a little funny. You just develop that kind of mentality if you do that kind of work, man. hats off to the folks that do that, because that is a tough job. All right, Karen Loveland saying, we met John Glenn's mother at the church where Mother's Day started in West Virginia. That's pretty cool. We got to touch the pin she was wearing that he smuggled on the flight with him. Now, how cool is that? All right, I'm impressed that you got to touch something that went into space. That's and not current. I mean, that old school space stuff, right? Isn't that something? I got a little story for y'all that I thought was pretty cool, and I don't think I told this because I wasn't here last week. There's a company here in Houston called Axiom Space, and they're involved in some of the private shuttle missions. They just launched, I think, on Wednesday. They had the rocket that the Falcon X went up, or the Falcon X was the rocket that took up their capsule that went to the International Space Station. I think that's how it works. Anyway, Axiom Space builds spacecraft for travel into orbit and things like that. I got to sell them some equipment that we sell. We sell a lot of electronic type stuff, and we actually sold some switches that are wireless communication, and actually had discussions with this company and talk about stuff. Anyway, it was cool that I got to sell something that went up into space as well. So just my own personal pride thing. It's pretty neat. All right, Brian saying Big Brother casting team starts reviewing submissions in 2 weeks. Wow, I got to get my video in pretty quick, right? Yeah. What would they do if I sent one in? Maybe I could say, yeah, I got a twin brother that was on this show. And people say we look just alike, but my name's Bubba Hawk. Don't be thinking I'm that Cliff guy. I'm the villain. Yeah, I don't think they'd buy it. But it'd be kind of fun to see if they did. 2 weeks. All right. Well, for those of you who are thinking about doing it, I don't care if you've never submitted a video before, or you've submitted every year for the past 15 years. Do it again, because it isn't going to hurt, and it's all about the journey. It's all about the experience. Worst comes to worst, you don't get a call back, and what have you lost? There's a chance that you get a call back. You get that little level of excitement for a while as you're filling out 100 different forms, signing your life away, sending photos, all the stuff that goes on with auditions. And there's always that possibility that you can end up in that house, and who knows what happens from that point on. All right, cool. We're gonna have to keep a countdown, because I want someone that watches this show to get on Big Brother, just so we can be such a driving force to make sure that y'all win every single vote and advantage and anything else we can do to influence. Now, I'm not the person that would be yelling out on the wall or flying planes over, although there's a few people that are on that watch this show that I may consider it for you guys. Of course I would. But yeah, no, I so want one of y'all guys to get on Big Brother. That would be so cool. And I always hope that someone maybe who's getting ready to go on, maybe they aren't a regular Cliff Notes Live viewer, but maybe they come out and watch some of these episodes just to get up to speed. If so, call me. I'll help you out. I'll help you with packing and strategy and everything else. And my lips are sealed. Unlike inside the Big Brother house, I can keep my mouth shut when it comes to something secret like that. And I will, and I'll help you out, and then we'll talk all about it after you're in the house and have so much fun with it. All right, let's see what else we've got here. Cindy Hire, what are your thoughts on the Traitors? Yeah, thank you, Cindy. I was going to talk about that. I'm trying to be real careful because I know not everyone's watched it. Some people are waiting till there's a lot of episodes out and then binge it all at once. Another episode came out on Thursday. I didn't get a chance to watch it until Saturday or Sunday. So I was being so careful to avoid any social media talk. So I know what it's like to avoid spoilers. So for those of you who have not watched it, I'm not going to give away any spoilers. I hope no one's doing it in the comments either. Cindy, I love the show. I think it's fantastic. I think the cast they've got this season is pretty good again. There's a couple people I feel like are such big personalities that it makes it hard for them to compete. We'll see what happens next week or two. Again, I don't want to throw out any spoilers, but I feel like there may be a person in trouble, and I'm sure you may know who I'm talking about. But I've liked it. I like the format of it. I like these little competitions they have. All of these competitions, they're almost just throwaways, right? You go out and answer some questions, add some money to the kitty and all that. That's fine, and that's good. And if you're playing the game it probably, I mean, $20,000 is $20,000, right? So it probably is a big deal. But in terms of watching the show, I almost don't care that much about the competitions. It's much more as part of the competitions, you're seeing people get opportunities to gain basically immunity. They call them shields. So it's interesting to see who's fighting for immunity, sometimes because they need it, sometimes because they don't, but they want people to think they do. It's a lot of strategy involved in all of it. I still maintain that if I played the game, I feel like I've got a strategy that would work that no one has employed yet, of not worrying so much in the first half of this season who the traitor is and who the faithful are. Because I just think it's just shot in the dark at this point in time. You don't really, it's too hard to figure out who it is. So don't spend all your time trying to figure out. Just ignore who the traitors are. Don't even, now you can't tell other people that, but don't worry who the traitors are. Just worry about protecting your own position. And I got a couple ideas of, if I ever get on there, about ways that I think I could protect my position and make it happen. So yeah, I love it. And not only do I love the show, I love the setting. God, send me to Scotland and hang out for a few weeks. That is a beautiful setting. That castle, incredible. The clothing, they show up for a funeral. They're all wearing black in different forms and everything. It's just a very elegant show. I will say this, my background, my heritage is Scottish. I watch that show and it makes me think I need to go buy a kilt. Now, I don't know how to look at a kilt, hairy legs and then a kilt, but I feel like as a true Scottish descendant, I need to go buy a kilt. Now, apparently my family, we're from Scotland, but we're not from the Highlands where all the Scottish clans were and all that. We're from the Lowlands. We're right up against the border with England. I think around Loch Lomond and that area. So my family, you go far enough back, they're there, but they weren't necessarily part of the Highlanders. They were the more established farmers and people like that, but we're still Scottish. And I take pride in that. But yeah, I love the show. It drives me crazy that we saw 3 episodes to start with, and now we're just getting 1 episode a week. It's just dragging on forever, and I'm spoiled because I want them all at once, which we're not getting. But it builds up the suspense as we wait for the next episode. I'm loving it. If y'all have not watched it, I did not have a subscription. I don't want this to sound like it's a commercial for Peacock. They aren't paying me squat. I didn't have a subscription to Peacock. I didn't think there was enough on that channel to necessarily justify it. But I bought the smallest version, which is like Peacock, that comes with ads and all that. It's like $5 or something, $6 a month. It's well worth it. I'd pay more than that to go see a movie. This is well worth it to watch. So if you haven't checked it out already, check out Peacock and the Traitors, because it's A-okay. All right. What else do we have on there? Did y'all? I will throw this out there. This isn't a spoiler. There was a challenge they had on the last episode where they had to listen to bird calls. One group of people was listening to bird calls outside. The other side was having to replicate them inside. All I could think was my season of Big Brother and how we had to remember all these bird calls. And then only the next night we find out it's part of prank week. And yeah, we didn't have to memorize any of those things. I still have those things in the back of my mind. The captive snow owl versus the free captive owl. I still know them all. Isn't that a waste of memory space? But it just shows how intense I was trying to memorize that stuff at the time. I would have done well if it was a real challenge, I think. But instead, we rolled a ball. I did horrible, and I had to throw pies in my face for the next week. That was kind of fun, too. But there you go. All right, Cindy's saying I'm going to be on one of the live eviction shows, invited by Julie. Yeah, all right. Yeah, that's pretty cool too. Let us know which one, Cindy, if you get the heads up, if you're allowed to. I don't know if that's the case or not. That's pretty fun. I'd love to go out there someday. If I can find some reason to head out to LA, I'll be the guy just standing by the gate saying, please let me in. I know people. Call someone. Tell them to let me in. And I want to be in the audience as well. It made such a huge difference. Of course, ours was before COVID, right? So we didn't have to deal with not having a studio audience and everything. You do what you have to do. And if I had walked out to no one there except Julie, all right, yeah, whatever. It would have been fine. But it meant a lot more to me that even though I was evicted, even though I was feeling horrible that I didn't make it to the end, Even though it was not my favorite night of my time in the Big Brother house, when I walked outside and I got to see all these people, most of them cheering for me. I mean, seeing strange faces, just seeing strange faces was incredible. It was like, oh my gosh, I don't recognize who you are. I don't know your name. How amazing is that? Just that most basic kind of change in what you're used to was incredible. I remember every time y'all always see in the Big Brother house, when someone opens up the door when they're evicted and everyone else is back waving all that. Every time I did that, I would zoom in on one person's face. Don't know who it was. It wasn't the same person every time. I would just zoom in on someone's face. It's like, I'm looking at you, you're looking at me, and we got a little mental connection here. May only last for a second or so, but I would actually try to connect with someone that was looking through that door, just on the hopes that maybe there'd be some kind of theta brainwave that would come to me that would say, hey, Christy and Tommy know each other, or whatever. Didn't quite work, but it was still nice, because then for the next couple of days in that house, I actually had a memory of someone's face that wasn't one of the other knuckleheads I was playing the game with. And that was nice to have for a few days. So the tiny little things in life mean a lot when you're inside that Big Brother house. All right, what else do we have going on? Let's see. Wow, 7:53. We talked about the Traitors. We talked about the Rodeo. We talked about some of my business stuff. It's great. We had clients in from Germany. So we had fun treating them. We took them to several different barbecue places, which they absolutely loved. We were going to take them horseback riding. Didn't work out because it was raining and it's dangerous for the horses and all that. So and I don't like getting wet anyway, but didn't get a chance to do that. You know what they did love, though? More than barbecue, more than the cowboy hats, more than anything, Buc-ee's gas station. Yeah, we took them to a Buc-ee's. I say we. I didn't get the chance to do that particular part, but they took them to the Buc-ee's station. These guys loved it. They loaded up on Buc-ee's merchandise to take back to their family, their friends back home in Germany. So now we got a little Buc-ee. For those of you who don't live in the Southwest where Buc-ee's are, it's not like Wawa's up in the Northeast. It's not like anything else you can ever imagine. It's just it's like Disney World, but gas pumps and restrooms and beef jerky instead. It's the best way I can put it. It's just something that you have to experience once. Once you've seen it a few times, yeah, it's maybe not as much intrigue, but first time you see a Buc-ee's, you can go, geez, do they really need them this big? Why, yes, we do. Down here in Texas, we absolutely do. All right, let's see. Vicky saying Tonight Show back in Johnny Carson's day. All right, I remember Johnny Carson. I watched a lot of times. Yeah. I had kids come in and do different bird calls. I used to do that. I used to think I was the world champion loon caller. And loons don't live here in Texas, I don't think. I think they're up in Canada. But I used to be able to do my voice has changed since I tried to do my loon calls as a kid, but I remember that. I absolutely do remember that. I laugh. They still have kids, 4-H and FFA, the ag groups here in Texas. They have kids that do, I think they've got competitions for different bird calls and turkey calls. Some of the kids that do the turkey, the gobble gobbles and all. If I'm a turkey, I'm going to go follow them around. They're pretty, I may be a turkey, but yeah, they're pretty good. Some of these kids do. I had at the Fort Worth Stock Show, I used to not get in trouble. I used to buy these little things. They look like a little half moon piece of paper with a little piece of metal on the inside. And you could put them on the roof of your mouth, and it was like a whistle. So I'd put on there, and I'd walk around all day, making this real loud whistle noise and just irritating the people all around me. It usually lasted about half an hour when I got home before my dad saying, yeah, I know who's making that noise. You're going to be spitting that whistle out right now. And it's not going back in your mouth until you go to school or the stock show tomorrow, because we aren't having it here. Yeah, very amazing the ways I found to irritate my family as a kid. And I'm still doing it today. Yeah, I'm master level at that sometimes. But I remember those little whistles. So, yeah, not much on the bird calls, but irritating noises and things like that, I'm pretty good at. All right, let's see what else. Cowardly Hunt, we're getting a Buc-ee's 4 miles from where I live in North Carolina. Yeah, it's they're growing everywhere. It's everywhere. Law saying Buc-ee's is being built near my college. And Sincat saying, I love Buc-ee's. And Karen saying, the restrooms are the best. They pride themselves on the cleanest restrooms. And I got to say, they're pretty good when it comes to, well, especially compared to gas station restrooms. They're pretty good. They beat the rest stops or anything else that you'll find anywhere else. They have a full, you would think that people just running in, cleaning as soon as anything happens. Also, yeah, they definitely have them. And sounds like Buc-ee's are just going everywhere. Just so you know, not that I'm a big A&M fan or anything like that, but Buc-ee's is owned by an Aggie, not this Aggie, but an Aggie. And yeah, he knew what people wanted in Texas. They wanted a nice, clean spot to go to the bathroom. They wanted plenty of gas pumps so they didn't have to wait in line. They wanted a whole lot of bright lights so you felt safe while you were there. And they wanted a place that you could take your dog to relieve themselves while you're on these long trips. Because Lord knows there's a lot of long trips in Texas. I drove back and forth to get up to Dallas-Fort Worth, and it's about 5 hours between here and there. And there are a lot of people at this business conference that are like, you drove 5 hours? But yeah, it's only 5 hours. But I guess in other parts of the country, that's a long haul. For us, it's what you do in the morning sometimes. But anyway, it's yeah. So when you're driving 5 hours, it's kind of nice to pull into a Buc-ee's and get a little restaurant. There's some fantastic coffee there as well. I'm a fan of the coffee. All right, Maryland Southern saying we have them in Kentucky. My kids love them. They're everywhere. It's not even a Texas unique thing anymore, right? They're just everywhere. All right, let's see. I guess that's about it. What else we have? I'll just shut down because we'll be talking forever otherwise. But guys, I'm so glad I'm back. Thank you for coming back as well and not just saying, he's gone a week. That's it for me. I'm going over to watch someone else. Now, thank you so much for your support. It means a lot. As I said at the beginning, I love seeing y'all's names out here at the start and knowing that that we see new people out here, but we also see a lot of the same people again. And that means a lot to me as well. And Ma, yeah, I think we need to make something happen next week. So be ready. Get the curlers out of the hair and whatever people do nowadays to look amazing when they come on the camera, because we may have a little birthday celebration. All right, guys, we're going to shut it down. I hope y'all have a fantastic week. Enjoy the cold, the heat, the rain, the snow, whatever you're getting in your neck of the woods, because I certainly will. Once more, if you haven't already done so, please consider subscribing to my channel. Turn on notification. Thumbs up is always appreciated. And I look forward to seeing y'all again next Monday. Big Brother coming up. We'll start talking about that more and more as we get into it as well. And whatever other reality TV y'all want to talk about as well. Guys, y'all have a fantastic week. A big old SKD 143. Love my wife, love my kids. Love all of you reality fans out there, especially my friends. And truly, you are my friends that are out here watching the show. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You have a great week. I will see y'all again next Monday. Between now and then, if you got any questions, thoughts, concerns, topics, send them to me, Instagram, Twitter. Just shoot me a DM. I try to answer all of them, so we'll do a little chatting. Guys, y'all have a great one. I'll talk to y'all next week. Cheers, my friends. Bye. Now, last time I couldn't turn this thing off. We'll see if it works better now. Y'all have a good one, guys. Bye. Maybe. I think so.